And so, Ted, as the proud founder and CEO of Hopetown, as you mentioned, you lead recovery systems and you focus on recovery housing, transportation, workforce development, and so much more. What's been the impact of Hopetown within the region?
Yeah, I did glance at that question and I wasn't sure how I was going to respond to this question because my first instinct is to say you'd probably need to ask the region, right? You'd probably need to ask the stakeholders in the region, and they all have a different answer. I'm sure. I mean, I heard when I was early in my life that if you know 3,000 people, you have 3,000 reputations, and you don't get to control any of them. All you can control is your character, right? So I stay focused on that, right? So I think with the consistency and the alignment in my character, for the most part, flawed still today and each day, with that commitment of, just trying to be authentic, trying to honestly solve problems, I believe in the future, right? So what's happened with Hopetown, we started out, I'd worked in all levels of treatment. I didn't really go through that process of going back to work at Glen Bay after making six-figure income and working second shift at Glen Bay at an entry-level position for $12 an hour. My family thought I joined a cult because I still had financial responsibilities and I had skill sets still that could produce a six-figure income, and I was working for $25,000 a year, an hour each way, afternoons, while my daughter was in school. So big decisions, right? But then it led me, I left there as an admissions manager. I went to First Step Recovery. I left there as an operations director. I went to New Day. I left there as chief of operations. And then I started my own treatment center in Rootstown in 2018 as founder and CEO. All of that treatment and behavioral health experience, I felt at the end of that run that what's really needed is a model that is separate of behavioral health and criminal justice, right? Recovery is not treatment, and treatment is not recovery. That was not my experience. It's still not my experience. They are both really necessary, but because of the business models, treatment, behavioral health has been invested into heavily into the intervention. All of the resources that have gone into SUD treatment have come into the intervention period. But what happens after 60 or 90 days for the next 5 years? That's the recovery ecosystem that needs to be developed. And the reason it has not been is because there's no money in it. So my feeling was to put this foundation, this ecosystem together and create a business model that made it make sense. So people like me could serve in this space autonomously without influence. And so more purely. And so by doing that, it was necessary for me to create some business model that could work and scale and stabilize through scaling. And I did that through developing a very large transportation service called Hope on Wheels. I call it a social enterprise. It's earned revenue. It's earned proceeds for our flexible funding that's really represented about 40% of our revenue for the last 3 years. And so then people started watching that. And so my mission kind of drifted to two things rather than one. One being, we have a small ecosystem. We serve people in recovery, adults, with housing, transportation, and employment services. And then we also created a technical assistance and thought partnership model to where we went on the state circuit and now the national circuit, teaching other nonprofits that traditionally have always functioned based on grants and donations to add in a social enterprise section depending on their strengths and interests of the leadership. It doesn't have to be what I do, just how do we do that so that we can then be more autonomous in our own space. And so that then led to AI, but we can pause before we get to that point.
Yes, no, perfect, because you are consistently investing into staff and clients and Hopetown's really development and outlook on recovery in the future. And so as you embed AI into Hopetown to upskill staff and clients, which I absolutely love, like you are just so forward thinking, just cutting edge in ways that people may think to themselves, wait, where exactly is Hopetown located?
That's
and they're
right.
doing those things.
Yeah.
I could probably guarantee someone has thought that or said that.
Yeah.
But in what ways will AI benefit clients as they navigate their recovery journey?
Yeah, so if AI is coming up today, we should represent that two-word acronym very carefully, right? One, I think the most successful people in organizations are going to be able to hold two things in each hand at the same time. One is AI can make things worse, right?
Mm.
So we have to really give full credit to that threat. AI can also solve problems that we haven't been able to solve ever in ways and for those that have never really had access to this type of capability before. So that being said, I did get a little obsessed with AI when around about 2+ years ago. And I did for a couple of reasons. One is I've worked in ragtag operations, behavioral health, which is so not healthcare, right? And with the resources and the institutions that are attached to healthcare is not equivalent in behavioral health. And what I've watched is a lot of people get into this field to help people, and they end up doing documentation
Yeah.
at such a burden that the tasks outweigh the connection, the human connection, which is why a lot of us showed up. Some of us are geared for it, some of us are not, right? But what I noticed was that generative AI, the chatbots, the chat LLMs that are happening, that have really created milestones every week, the development and the capabilities. But
Yeah.
that's not AI, right? What I saw AI was the agentic AI. And then what I saw past agentic AI, which is islands of automation to, improve productivity, all of those things are part of it, but they're really just part of it.
Mm.
What's available right now, and this is why I just went all in about 2 years ago and just got all the certifications, went to all the cities AI weeks, have invested in our ideas and our people, so that what we're doing out here in the cornfield in Northeast Ohio as a small nonprofit is we are at levels of AI implementation that big tech isn't even operating in right now. Because big tech and technology is not the same as AI. And that's what people need to understand. This isn't an IT department. This is a way of thinking. It's a leadership issue, not a technology issue. And so if I want to deliver one thing and this is what I'm doing a lot with thought leaders in Ohio and beyond, as well as some of the largest treatment centers in Ohio, those CEOs we're spending a lot of time together. And what I'm trying to deliver right now is, what is AI? And AI for an organization is centralization of data and structuring of data so that you can create a brain and a nervous system for your organization that holds all of the data in a structured way that AI can then be leveraged to communicate problems and questions and needs to. And it can conversationally reference your contracts, your MCOs agreements, your obligations, your grants, your financials, what lives in all of your emails and Excel programs, all your Microsoft products and Word documents, and all of the people's heads that work with you, including your own. Getting that data into one central nervous system, it's incredible what can happen. They've been trying to do this for 30 years, and they've invested millions and hundreds of millions of dollars with large enterprise organizations that hire tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of software engineers who are no longer writing code every day. Now they're building through like Claude Code and ChatGPT 5.8 Sol. Like now people are building systems that communicate. What I did over the July 4th weekend with the invent of the access to Fable 5, which is Claude Anthropic's most powerful model until yesterday. I mean, this is how fast it's going. I was able to do something and organize Hopetown as a small nonprofit. We are not short on data. We're buried in it. Everybody is. Structuring it and centralizing it so that you can communicate with it to solve problems in real time without friction throughout your staff. That is why I am so invested, because we're going to be able to solve problems in ways that we never could. And the human centricness of all of it means that I'm able to solve complex problems in short time and not wear out my staff, and give us the time that we can use to connect to each other so that we can then connect to the people that we serve. And that's what's happening. So my goal is going to be to help others do the same. So I couldn't tell you what my mission statement is, man. Like I can tell you what my vision statement is because that's something that has meaning for me. Our goal is to inspire others to improve their lives so that they can go on to help inspire others to do the same, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we're doing in all kinds of ways. So it's not about AI and it's not about technology. It's
Mhm.
about how do we solve problems? How do we serve people? How do we actually get the outcomes that we set out to get and not get distracted, bogged down, worn out, and leave the field? I watch people burn out, crash and burn, and honestly, people in recovery, we disorder in a really destructive way. So I know what we're capable of, and that's the transformation that we're all going to be going through.
Wow, I love it. That is incredible to think about for anyone out there. And I will put the contact information for Hopetown in the description. Please check out the website. I promise you, this is a small, very it, it it doesn't have, there's not hundreds, thousands of staff members. And so when Ted describes some of the amazing things that they're doing, keep in mind just how incredible that is for the amount of employees, and but the impact is incredible. It's been so incredible. And for Ted, someone that I kid you not, everyone, you've probably seen Ted somewhere across the region, across the state, across the country. We might as well refer to Ted as Mr. Portage County because if there's something going on, he's there. Now, Ted, you wear so many hats, personally, professionally. How do you balance all of your responsibilities?
Yeah. So I appreciate what you say. I take it all with a grain of salt. I think I my sponsor, two things that get me emotional: my daughter and my sponsor, my daughter and my recovery. Anytime I speak about them, I feel this, right? And it's not sadness, man. It is gratitude. So
Mhm.
I had 17 days clean, and I use that term because I'm an NA guy. I had 17 days in recovery or of abstinence, however people view it. And somebody asked me to help them because it seemed like a miracle to people who were still using at the time. And, I was like, oh man, like I was telling my sponsor, like he was brand new, I said, I don't know that I can help them without risking my own self right now. And he was like, who the hell are you to not help another suffering addict? You were helped when you showed up. We help people. We do it in a way that makes sense though. But what he taught me was if somebody asked me for help, I say yes. If somebody asks me to share my story, I say yes. So I probably say yes too much, at least as it relates to the mission that I'm on. When people ask me something to do something that's not in my mission, it's real easy to say no. But in this lane, right? Because I'm focused. When you ask me, like, how do you create balance? I wrestled with that for a long time in recovery and in life because I think our society talks about it in a way that doesn't really align with reality, right? So
Yeah.
here's where I'm at now. What greatness has ever had balance? Think of the obvious people who have really achieved or chased greatness in any field, in any sport, in anything, in your experience. Think of how your life has had to, through periods, not be balanced to
Yeah.
achieve greatness, right? Because if you want to be great at something, don't expect balance and don't expect that you're not going to lose some areas of your life while you go for that. Hopefully, it's through periods. And if your values change, then so will your balance, so will your greatness, aspirations, right? I see people who want to be great at something, and then they start to do it and they realize what it takes, that they can't experience balance during that period, and they just give up on the greatness. And they want to be more balanced and just kind of good at a lot of things. That's fine too, right? For me, I recognize that. There's something in me that's probably always been imbalanced, and I'm relieved by the not having to try to achieve it anymore. So that's why, people reach out to me on my Saturdays and Sundays, and I'm sitting here at my desk, man. I get a lot of work done when there's nobody else here. But I still, those that I love and I spend time with, but I'm not a social guy necessarily. I even realized in recovery that I have social anxiety. Like recognizing that,
Mhm.
I guess I never acknowledged it because it seemed weak to me. And I was going to make my weaknesses my strengths. So I put myself uncomfortably into social environments, and I do well in those environments, but I need a lot of isolation in order to balance that out.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. It's amazing for anyone to recognize strengths, weaknesses, areas of growth, ways in which they need to balance and center themselves. And so, for all of you watching this, really understand that if you need time to yourself, take that. But if you'd like to put yourself out there and be a lot more social because you feel as though it's going to create a network, create an environment where you're able to thrive professionally and personally, do that as well. Ted, I thank you for sharing that. This interview has been incredible. As I've stated throughout this interview, you've inspired someone. You've inspired someone to potentially seek treatment, that treatment that they're avoiding because they're afraid of what's on the other side. You shared your journey and how you were extremely successful, went through challenges, had to fall down, got back up, and now you're standing at levels that felt like dreams, but they're realities, and you understood what it took to get there. So, as we conclude this incredible interview, Ted, please tell us what takeaways should viewers leave with?
My best thinking got me here, right? And I say that, and I could have said that at any point in time in my life, right? I tried I grew up without a lot of support, and I realized that if anybody was going to make this happen, it was going to be me, right? That mentality wasn't very balanced and it wasn't very experienced. So I had to rethink what was true for me. The fact is, my best thinking got me completely addicted to where I was a slave, and I was humiliated by that. And I suffered for years, decades,
Yeah.
not understanding anything about what was happening to me, feeling like my ego would not allow me to ask for help. I finally broke. And when I broke, that was the beginning, right, for me.
Wow.
And I had to rebuild myself in a way that showed more humility, that says I'm not above anything, but I'm not below anything. That's the definition of the true definition of humility. We get it twisted. We also talk about insanity. And, you hear that in the second step of a 12-step program, which, may or may not help you. It saved me. Insanity, if you look it up in the dictionary, is just unsound judgment. And when I defined it in the dictionary, then it made more sense to me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't defective. I just didn't have good judgment based upon long-term drug use. I was gray. My organs were failing. I was not going to be here without a significant change. I believe that what I want people to understand is if you compare your insides to the outsides of others, good luck with that, man. Because how we feel, how the human nature, the brain cycle works, so we don't get to control our thoughts. They just occur to us. What we do is get to be more aware of them, and we interrupt the pattern of thought with what is real and what is not. So all of that to be said, if I want somebody to get something out of anything that I do, is that nothing is above you. Nothing is outside of your reach. But the path there is not logical for most of us. We can't believe things could be that simple. But we want them to be easy, and nothing worth having is easy. And we were designed to break at some point in our life. That's just the truth. That's really the process of being a human. I heard it said once in my life, and I always try to remember this thoughtfully because it's not easy for me to say, is that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Powerful.
And if we understand that, that means that we're really never designed. We're just aware of this human experience. This human experience, we're supposed to break at some point. Our ego is going to, what do they say? If you don't get humble, you will be humiliated, right? And that humiliation for me was what was necessary to break the ego and start over. I did that when I was 40. I'm 57 now, and I'm on a run, man. And I haven't self-sabotaged in any major significant way. And that is the gift. So, man, I'm just trying to be here for others, but mostly I'm trying to be here for that 4-year-old girl that when I made this decision to get better, I did it for her. And honestly, I still do it for her. That's really what everything I do is about. I want her to recognize and have a stable force in her life because I didn't. That's what I'm committed to.
Oh, that is an incredible way to end this interview, Ted. It has been an honor. It has been a pleasure. As I mentioned, you've changed someone's life with this interview. Thank you. I cannot thank you enough. You're doing amazing work at Hopetown,
Thank you.
but also across the region, across the state, and across the world. So, Ted, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.